Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring my art channel. Hello, I just made a quick decision to continue this role of answering questions because I was doing that just earlier and the video was turning out to be super long, but I decided that I just record the next part of it now while my mind is still firmly in this, and I will just make this a different video and hopefully post it like a week after the initial one. So hopefully that's how it ends up being, and yeah, let's go. So the question that I was going to answer next from my last video is the following: general thoughts on social media as an artist and a creative. What is it like for you now? How it has changed or has not changed you during your experience with it? How you think you would approach it now if you had to start all over, and things you have found that made your interactions with it healthy or unhealthy. So this is like a really great set of questions, and now that I know I'm at the beginning of a new video, I'm fully committed to spending as long as it takes to answer this thoroughly. So social media is like a huge topic in terms of being an artist, comic artist, and just being creative online. So it has obviously changed very much since I started using it back in the day. So I'll just talk about my experience with social media up until this point and what it currently is. So I started using social media before it was even a thing. As some of you guys probably remember, there was DeviantArt, so that's where I was first. Actually, even before that, I was on forums, Guy Online and whatnot. This is like ancient stuff. So, and because I was so young, my only priority was to just find like-minded other artists and just share my work and become part of a community. It was 100% about participation, and that's what made it so fun. And that was mostly in the forums, and then it was a little bit similar on DeviantArt, because on DeviantArt the community, generally speaking, like of the whole website, was so small. It felt so small that it was very easy to feel really like you're a part of it, and people did things together more, I feel like. And there was only views on your profile, and as much as people did care about that, and you know, people always care about popularity to some degree, that really didn't seem like the biggest aspect of it, because there were a lot of niches on DeviantArt and people just belonged to their own niche and they made friends, and everything just very like special. Everything was very special and like wholesome, and it was a very good community. I mean, not without its drawbacks, you know, there was drama and whatnot, but I'm not going to get into that. So it was very fun at first, and that's how I, at the very beginning, I guess, got into the habit of posting somewhat frequently online, sharing my work. That's why I learned how to edit my images in order to be posted and whatnot, and like I learned all those tiny little like micro skills that go into that. And afterwards, things shifted when Instagram came around. So with Instagram, things became slightly different. It actually became easier to post because you could just snap a photo. So that was one thing that was super welcome. I remember it was a big pain to scan artwork and like edit it in order for it to be posted on DeviantArt. And then when Instagram rolled around, it seemed like much quicker, and it became easier to be more active more frequently. And at the time, it was totally a welcome change for me. And I joined Instagram expecting nothing out of it, and I'm just trying to remember whether I joined Instagram first or Tumblr first, because one of those things came before the other. Honestly, it was such a long time ago that at this point I can't even remember. Something tells me Tumblr was first, but it was all very similar to DeviantArt. It's just like you post something, you talk about it a little bit, and what I didn't like about Tumblr was that there were no comments for the most part, because comments were a huge part of it for me, like feeling like I'm actually communicating with people, knowing what other people think, and all of that. So Instagram was better, and that's why as soon as I joined Instagram, I kind of preferred it. And Instagram was my favorite, and it was something I loved for a very long time, for many years. Basically, I just happily shared whatever I was working on. I joined it when I was like shared in college, I think, in my second year or something like that. And yeah, I just posted stuff whenever I was working on something. I shared things all the time. It was very kind of like non-committal, and for that reason I posted very frequently and I shared all sorts of different stuff, and my account grew steadily. I've never had like viral moments or anything like that. I've only ever experienced steady growth on any platform that I joined. So that's been my general experience. And before I continue, let me tell you about my sponsor, Squarespace. As a full-time professional artist working from home, having a portfolio website is crucial for bringing in new clients. Social media definitely plays a part, but it is not a sufficient replacement for a portfolio website, because having to post frequently can really stand in the way of curating a proper gallery that is a good representation of my work. And so as a solution, I've been using Squarespace for years in order to show my work to potential clients. The galleries are super easy to set up and organize, and it only takes minutes to update when I have something new. This website also serves as a main link hub that is super useful to anybody who is interested in my work, so they can easily find information on how to contact me, view my shop, my comic website, and social media channels that are not the ones they have found me through. So I highly recommend Squarespace if you're looking for a place to host your website. You can get started for free, and when you're ready to launch your brand new website, you can go to squarespace.com/cosmicspectrumart to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. And now back to the video. That kind of takes us to where I'm at with social media now. And honestly, I think that I have been so soured by the way that Instagram behaves that I'm not sure that I will ever be able to use it and have fun with it again. Like, I'm just kind of at that point. And because I've had so many back and forth experiences with Instagram over the past even like 5 years at this point. God, that's so long. It's crazy to say that. Like, maybe over the past 4 years or something. It's just been super annoying and aggravating. I think aggravating is probably the best word for it that I can come up with. It's aggravating because it just feels like a huge betrayal by the social media. And I understand why they changed their algorithms and they like do things the way they do and whatever. Like, it's fine. At the end of the day, I think the whole thing is more harmful than it is good overall. Now, in the form that it exists now, it does way more harm than good, in my opinion. And just even knowing that and having come to that conclusion makes me kind of very not excited about using it at all. And it is, if anything, when I stay away from Instagram, I do feel generally better about everything in my life. And that's very unfortunate because I still want to use it. I don't want to lose the connection that I've worked so hard to form with so many people on that platform for so many years. And I don't know, it's just, I'm honestly in a pickle about the whole social media thing, because on the one hand, I really admire people that manage to successfully transition into just using it, like just treating it like a job. Like, they have their scheduled days when they prepare their posts and then they upload them and schedule them to go on to get published at certain times. And like, it's just a process that is repetitive and predictable, and it's literally like just a job quota for posts on social media, Instagram specifically. And I totally understand why that's what it takes in order to actually retain your audience and experience any sort of growth. And at this point in time, I don't know if I can do something like that. I just don't know if I'm cut out for that, because I've tried it in the past and I found that I really just can't stick to it at all to any degree of success. I find that it just annoys me to have to treat it as some sort of thing that I have to prepare in advance, because what I loved so much about Instagram in the first place was the organic nature of it, of just sharing things as they come. But because the platform has gotten so weird, I just don't feel like being in the moment with it anymore, ever. And it's not something that I have been able to recreate. So that's where I currently am with that. And so one of the questions is how it has changed me, or how it has changed my experience with it. So I thought this was a really interesting one to just kind of chat about, like, obviously, as you guys can see, I'm going to spend some time answering this question because there's a lot going on, and so obviously, be prepared for that. Anyways, so yeah, how it has changed me and my experience with it, I think, is a huge question. This is something that I haven't really thought about in a very long time, but I just remembered that even though earlier I was telling you guys about how great DeviantArt was, and in a lot of ways it was, but I also just remembered that I even had some negative experiences with that were quite intense at the time, if I can remember correctly. Because I remember I did have a rage quit moment on DeviantArt like years and years and years ago. Obviously, it's like, I don't know how many years, but the point is, I think from what I can remember, I had the rage quit moment because I suddenly remembered what it was like, or it's not that I suddenly remembered, I just started to really, really miss what it was like for me and my art before I started posting it online at all, like anywhere. And so I was like 14 or something when I started posting, maybe 14 and a half, I don't know, 14, 15, somewhere around there. And so before that, it was just me. Like, I was just totally on my own with it. And obviously I would share art with my friends, like the very closest friends, very small group actually, mostly just one and like a couple of people in high school. But this was like the year before I started posting, so it kind of overlaps. But anyways, I digress. So I came to a point like a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years after I was constantly posting on DeviantArt and whatnot, I started to just feel detached. I felt like my priorities were shifting and my focus was shifting, and just my relationship with art was shifting in general in a direction that I didn't like. And for the most part, this was that I felt like I was no longer drawing for me, but I was drawing for this like invisible audience. And it was weird because I never really thought about it that way when I was actually doing it, and there were so many things about it that I enjoyed. But I think there comes just kind of like a threshold when you get enough attention on your art, it starts to become weird. Like, it feels weird because I never did it specifically to gain attention, even though it was nice. Like, I really enjoyed it. It feels great to get compliments and to have people like, tell you that they like your art and all that. I'm not saying anything other than that, but at the same time, that wasn't really the goal at the beginning. So I think I got to a point where I started to just feel like I'm detaching from what I'm doing, and I don't really understand what I'm trying to do anymore. So that's kind of the point where I had like a rage quit moment from DeviantArt. I don't remember how long I quit for. I don't think it was very long. I think it was just a few months or something, and I did end up coming back, obviously. And then after that, I never had anything like that happen again. But during those few months that I quit, there were a lot of other things going on in my life, like parallel, that were also like pretty rough to deal with. And I think that's when I kind of briefly dropped out of high school, and I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. And this was like at the very end. I think it was at the same time this was happening. And like, I had this brief time period where I just got some job at a grocery store, and I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life, like in general as a whole, because I never really thought about it before. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to go to college and like if I was gonna go. I didn't know what program. Like, I was just totally like floating about, lost and confused. It was all happening kind of at the same time. So I think that I had less of a problem with social media, or, you know, DeviantArt as it was at the time, than just my general sense of not knowing what I'm trying to accomplish with my life, or like where I'm going, because I was just, you know, was no longer a kid, I guess, and I was becoming an adult. So that was what was happening. And it didn't take me very long to decide that I wanted to go to college, because for very simple reasons, like working at a grocery store as a cashier just sucked. It was like the worst thing ever, and it paid next to nothing. And I figured, there's no way I'm gonna be doing this. So I figured, in order to get a better job and to actually make some decent money, I have to go to college. So I just, you know, was kind of back on track with that, and I digress. So for social media, when I came back, that's when I think Tumblr started coming up pretty quickly, and then Instagram. So I think because I was able to solve my personal issues, I no longer struggled with issues with sharing stuff on social media. And this is kind of interesting for me, because I'm starting to realize this as I'm telling you guys the story, because at the time I still believed that there was something about social media that was like harming my relationship with my art or whatever. But at the end of the day, I actually don't even think that that was an accurate assessment of the situation at the time. I think I was just personally not sure what I wanted to do, and I had a dark little moment, and then I kind of found my way back to focusing again. So social media, I think, actually ended up having little to do with it. And then once I started posting on Instagram, like I told you guys, it was just for fun, like 100%. It was super fun. It was nice. It was very slow growth, but it was steady. And now that we're here in the present, one of the questions was about things that have made my interactions with it healthy or unhealthy. So when we started to get into the very unhealthy territory is basically when like it's impossible not to form expectations in the back of your mind, right? Like, for instance, with Instagram, what started to quickly turn into a very negative experience for me was when I was able to reach way less people, what felt like suddenly. And I guess you could say that it is less attention, because it's the same thing, I suppose. Like, so when I would make posts, they would just get way less engagement, attention, viewership, etc. than before. And it felt kind of sudden, and something like that always feels punitive. Like, it feels like I did something wrong, or if suddenly like people are just uninterested. And yeah, those are terrible feelings that don't feel good to anybody. And I was really struggling with that for some time. And then obviously I've made a few attempts to like post more, you know, schedule things, try to please the algorithm, do some fan arts now and again, because there are things you can do to please the algorithm. And eventually, at the point where I find myself right now, I am so just done with trying to chase the algorithm and trying to get it back, like trying to get back the attention or like the viewership or whatever, the audience. Like, I don't know, I just can't. Like, it still feels bad that it feels like I lost a connection with people that genuinely liked what I was posting, like not the fan art, just my work. It does kind of feel like that sometimes, and it is sad, and it does feel like some sort of loss. But at the same time, like, you know, the stuff that I did last year, it's like, I'm just gonna tell you all my strategies that I kind of went through. It's like, the first one's like, okay, do Inktober, like be consistent for Inktober, do this, do that, like draw more traditionally, or pick some sort of fan art, like whatever is really popular right now, if you do like it, make sure you make the fan art, because why not? Because you like it. Like, those were my kind of thoughts about it, and I did that a few times. And it's true that whatever I do post fan art for is stuff I genuinely like, legitimately, and it does tend to get a spike in viewership and engagement. That is also true, but I found myself feeling so just empty even after there's like a smidgen of a comeback, you know, like it got a little more views than usual. And I just started thinking to myself, like, I just don't care about this anymore. Like, I just can't anymore. For years I've just been struggling with it, like this back and forth, like getting burnt out from trying to post more regularly, trying to catch some sort of trend, trying to just like claw my way to relevancy again. And it, like, feeling like you're becoming irrelevant also sucks, like, especially as, you know, I'm getting older. Like, I'm not like in my early 20s anymore. It's just totally different now, so thoughts about irrelevance do kind of come up now and again. But then I'm just like, you know what, I just really feel like I've put in the work big time. Like, I've put in the work to get my skills to where they are now, and I feel relatively secure that I can get work if I really need it, client wise. And even though, you know, things are pretty crazy with the AI stuff, like, I don't even want to go there right now, but at least at the moment seems like there's still jobs floating around here and there. But yeah, I just think that this is the time to just work on my project and stop chasing the algorithm and stop trying to please the algorithm and try to gain back the audience. Like, I just can't, like, I can't do it anymore. And one of the biggest things for me, like, this is kind of funny, but it's a numbers thing where, like, I was stuck at the same number of Instagram followers for like years, like the longest time, and it was just like slightly up and down, and then down, slightly up, down, and it was all just like getting closer and closer to 500. And for me, I was just like, oh man, like, it would suck so much to dip below 500,000 followers, because I worked so hard to get that number, and it meant a lot to me when it happened, like, so many years ago. And then once that eventually happened, as it was always going to, like dipping below 500, I actually think that's exactly when I stopped caring, because that happened and I'm like, oh, I guess this is literally nothing. Like, it really doesn't even matter. I feel like I don't feel it any differently. And this panic that I had about chasing the engagement and chasing the algorithm and all that, it kind of like evaporated after I hit below 500. It just, I mean, obviously it's been like coming down steadily since then as well, but yeah, I really do find myself just like totally over caring about it at this point. So that's kind of nice. And as far as what I'm trying to think about on what the next steps are, like, I'm not at a point where I want to just like hard abandon it, because that's pointless. Like, that would be stupid to do. Like, it's still a huge platform regardless of how much it has dropped over the years. Like, I still get a really, really good amount of people looking at my work, and that's something that I'm trying to come back to. Like, one of the biggest things I'm trying to do is just to like really, really adjust my expectations and just forget about any of the numbers I've seen before, and just treat everything like it's new. Like, I want to try to treat it as if it's new, because at this point I've taken a step back for a few months, and I think I kind of got a lot of things out of my system, and like I said, I stopped caring. Like, I don't care about the number dropping anymore, and I am trying to just treat it as something that's fresh, and I just want to appreciate what's still there. And I really do want to go back to the way that I was posting, just like way back before I cared about trying to keep up at all. So because I've been making an effort to cut everything else out and only work on my comic, my general plan is to just start posting snippets of my comic again, very similar to how I used to do it when I was working on Grimoire Noir, to just give a preview here and there of my comic and just do that, and that's it. Like, I don't really care if that is going to be popular or not. It is what it is. Like, I really care about this project. I just want to share it, and I just want to focus on sharing that. Like, I don't want to divert the attention of my viewership to anything irrelevant anymore. And if they care enough to look up my stuff, I want it to be stuff that I actually want them to see. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. Obviously, haven't really started posting again yet, but hopefully soon I will start doing that. And while I'm talking about this social media stuff and healthy and unhealthy habits, I think detachment is probably healthier at this point. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's pretty complicated. Like, I actually have no idea what it would be like to start from scratch right now. That was one of the questions. Like, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it any differently, because it was the most fun when there were no stakes, when all I wanted to do was just share whatever I was drawing, and it was fun, and it wasn't about growth. Like, it was never about growth until growth was already there, and then it was about not losing it. So that's kind of what it was, I guess, for me, because I never focused on growth, you know what I mean? It just sort of happened, and then once I was already there, it was just there, and then suddenly things were starting to go backwards, and that's when the panic kicked in. But now I'm just like, you know what, whatever. Like, never really cared about growth anyways, and managed to build my career, thankfully, while there was growth, and now I'm just like, whatever, just gotta take whatever I have and just have faith that things will work out. I think at the end of the day, that's all it is. I'm just trying to have faith that things will just work out, and I really think that they will, because that's how it has been going so far in all other aspects of my life anyway, so there's no reason to start doubting it or anything. And there's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. Like, I wanted to tell you what I think maybe was a bit of a mistake that I made last year. So I started last year like super strong. Last year, at the beginning of 2024, is when I started working on the prologue. I started executing the prologue for my comic, and I did it in a decent amount of time. Like, I don't remember exactly how long it took me, but it wasn't crazy. Like, it was probably a couple of months or something at most, probably less than that. But anyways, I was very focused on it, and it was exhilarating. Like, it was exactly what I wanted to do, and it was just amazing. And then I think where the mistake happened for me was, as soon as I was done with the prologue, I was like, okay, I have these 18 pages. I have the prologue. I have to drop it right. You know what I mean? Like, I got to plan how I'm gonna share it with the audience, and it was like all super exciting. And I got so bogged down with this particular aspect of it that, in my opinion, it just totally like killed the momentum that I had and the momentum of the project. And like, I was trying to be modern. Like, I was trying to think in the context of like how things are done on social media these days, and how, you have to hype things a little bit, and like you have to drop these teasers and shit, and then you have to like suddenly start posting. And it was an effort. I will say it was a pretty valiant effort on my part. Whether it managed to like make any sort of buzz or not is something that I literally don't even know, because it's an independent website, and like, I suppose I could go back and check like the hits or something, the page hits for those few days that I was dropping the page. But anyways, I think at the end of the day, the whole strategy was just totally bogus. Like, I think it didn't really work to create any sort of hype. And you know what? Even if I did create some sort of small hype in my little niche, I still think that it was a huge failure at the end of the day, because I spent so much time setting up this website, setting up a schedule, trying to figure out how to release things, how to try to figure out how to offset the release on Patreon versus on the website, and just like putting the website together. And for the most part, when I'm talking about putting the website together, I mean, like, I went and did all the custom little button designs. Like, I just made those in Photoshop and, like, from scratch. Like, they weren't even just assets. I made all this stuff, and it just planning it, and it took forever, man. Like, it took months. It took months for me to do this, and it took months to schedule. And the whole thing, I think it, like, completely murdered the momentum of my comic, because when I was working on this stuff, obviously I wasn't working really on the comic. Like, I did some writing sessions here and there, but I didn't even touch chapter 1 until the last few months of that year. So the first couple of months of the year I was working on the comic, and then there was this huge gap in time, and then the last few months of the year I was working on the comic. So it's like, what is that, man? Like, at that pace, am I ever going to get anywhere with it? I don't think so. So that was a big, obviously, concern. Like, I was going over this timeline at the end of the year, just being like, what happened? Like, what went wrong? And I think in retrospect, shouldn't have done any of that. Like, I don't even think that there was any reason for me to get right into the website so quickly. I think what I should have done was to just keep working on it behind the scenes and not even post it, like, publicly at all, until I had a huge backlog, or until even after I released the first physical volume. Because now that I'm thinking about it, like, I'm still not sure what exactly the advantage of having it free to read is, because I know that my audience is so small, and I know that it's niche as hell. So maybe on the one hand it could expand the reach, but on the second hand, like, it would probably make more sense to just post it on a comic platform. So see, this is still stuff that I'm thinking about in my head, because I've obviously paused it on the website, the updates, and I have been working on it now, but I am not making the same mistake again. Like, when I'm done with chapter 1, I need to just no pause go straight into chapter 2 and then straight into chapter 3, because there's no way, like, the momentum is so freaking hard to gain, you guys, that I cannot afford to lose it again. Because I feel like if I lose it again, God knows how many months it'll take me to get back to it. Like, that's how things just completely get away, And especially when you're doing some other stuff, like, there's always a million things to do at home and, like, in regular life. Like, there's people to see, there's events to go to, and then on top of that, last year I was still running my shop, I was still trying to do some sticker crap, and then I was also still going to a few conventions, and all of that, you think, like, if you zoom out, it's like, oh, it's just one thing here and there, one convention this month, like a couple of conventions down the road, a few events here and there, but this just derailed me for the entire year. So that's what happened, because a convention is no joke, especially in a different country. Like, preparing for it, just making sure everything is, like, it's weeks, it's almost a whole month ends up being kind of, like, taken over. Like, at least half the month ends up getting taken over by a convention for me. So this year, I don't even know if I'm going to do any conventions at all. I applied to one TCAF, which is local, and I didn't even get into it. Like, I think I got waitlisted, but I had to let it go because I was planning a trip at the same weekend with my husband anyways, so that worked out. But yeah, like, I haven't even applied to any other conventions, and I don't even think that I will this year, because I really think that this year has to be the year that I make massive progress on this comic. It has to be massive, because I've made a lot of sacrifices. I put a lot of stuff on the chopping block within the last couple of months, and I better have something to show for it. Like, this is not a situation where I can be like, oh, well, like, time went by, I'm not sure what happened, but I'm back at square one. Like, I'm kind of done with that. So here we are. And for that reason, I don't know if it's, like, disappointing news to you guys, because I'm not sure if I'm going to be posting it publicly free to read anytime soon again, because I do think that was a mistake, and I think losing momentum on something like that is so stupid. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people who have read it that were new readers already forgot about it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I just want to do it right. Like, I don't know exactly how to do it. I know for sure that I'm gonna make a printed copy, and that's like the first goalpost for me. For me, the first goal is completing the first volume. In my mind, I want it to be around like 80 pages or so, you know. That's like a decent amount. It's not so thick, like maybe not 80, maybe like 60. We'll see. Somewhere between 60 and 80 pages is my current goal, and that's not so long that it'll take me years, but it's also not so short that it's just like, you know, toilet paper, tiny little super thin floppy type of thing. I don't like those. I think those are a waste of shelf space, in my personal opinion. Like, I like a proper book, even if it's not graphic novel length. I really like a nice book when it comes to comics, and I have many of those, so that's kind of what I'm going for, and that's my first goal. And as far as it being free to read, I'm gonna explore that afterwards, but for now I just want to focus on getting those pages done, just really developing the story further, getting further into the script, which I have been working on all these things, and it really feels like the progress right now is way more than it has been in the past like couple of years. So I am happy where I'm at currently, and yeah, I'm just slowly kind of working my way back to social media. So that's kind of what I started talking about at the beginning of this video. Obviously it's a long video, but I felt like I wanted to get this off my chest to you guys, because it's something, these are all things that I've been thinking about a lot for the past few months, and like, I honestly feel like I do make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and you know, it's all relative. Like, to some people they're not mistakes, and maybe I have to learn things the hard way. God, I just feel like I just keep like making kind of the wrong decisions when it comes to my personal project, but I do think that this is the right way of looking at it. I think the right way of looking at it is only really focusing on the physical project first, because I have all the experience I need for something like that already, because I've done all the self-published art books and whatnot, and it's so much clearer to focus on it this way. And I do think in some ways making this type of comic free to read right off the bat is too generous, man. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like, I'm making a lot of sacrifices for this right now, and it's tough, and also the amount of work I put into it is pretty crazy. And so I think that it would be better to offset it in a way where I want to secure like the first volume for it to be like well on the way, and actually probably would want to even like run a Kickstarter for that, or whatever I'm gonna do. Probably gonna do a Kickstarter for it first, and then after that's done, or during the Kickstarter even, is when I will start posting free to read stuff again. And after that I will have like more than enough backlog, so I never have to worry about it, because I was so worried about the backlog that I ended up, you know, running out of pages and just completely out in the dust, you know, like I couldn't post anything, and I still don't have, like, it just didn't work out. The scheduling just really didn't work out, and yeah, it's all trial and error for me. Like, I'm really hoping that this year I'm gonna be able to make the right decisions and finally just get it done. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know how it's going, and I think it's going well. And you let me know what you think about all the stuff. Let me know if you have any suggestions to make. Yeah, just let me know if you have any thoughts about this. And I hope this was a good update and a good chat, and maybe you were able to find something useful out of this to yourself. And thank you so much for listening to this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.